The Galactic Council gathered in the vast chamber of light and glass, a place that had witnessed 1,000 declarations of war and peace alike. Representatives from over 70 civilizations filled the hall, each radiating confidence in their superiority. Yet that day an unfamiliar tension hung in the air, spreading like static across their minds. At the center of the hall, a projection flickered to life. It was the image of a small blue world suspended in the void. Earth. The High Speaker, a tall being with crystalline eyes, addressed the assembly. This planet's species refuses to yield. They claim sovereignty over their system and deny our demand for integration into the Council. We have given them time to submit peacefully. They answered with silence. Whispers rippled through the crowd. The words "refuses to yield" struck a chord none could ignore. For ages, every civilization that faced the Council had bowed or been erased. Yet this insignificant human species, dared to stand firm. The Admiral of the Fourth Fleet rose, his tone sharp. If they reject diplomacy, then the arm of the Council will correct their arrogance. A single strike will bring them to reason. The motion passed without dissent. Warships were mobilized. From the depths of nebulae, fleets older than humanity's first spark of civilization began to move. Thousands of vessels slipped through the dark, guided by the certainty that this campaign would end swiftly. Far across the void, on a modest station orbiting Mars, humanity watched. The United Earth Defense Network had been born in urgency, forged from necessity rather than ambition. Humans had seen the Council's advance, had intercepted fragments of communication, enough to understand the coming storm. Within the command center, officers stood over holotables tracking the alien armadas. Their leader, an older man with the calm of one who had seen too much, spoke quietly. "They're underestimating us again." Humanity's technology was primitive by galactic standards, or so the Council believed. What they did not know was that humanity's real weapon was not technology. It was will. It was the desperate, relentless instinct to survive. For decades, Earth had hidden its greatest discoveries. Quantum field drives, adaptive armor, and void resonance weapons, all developed in silence under the belief that someday the stars might not be friendly. That day had come. "Deploy the Aegis line," the commander ordered. From the outer moons of Jupiter, dark shapes emerged. Massive defense platforms and stealth cruisers, invisible to the Council's sensors until the first human volley was unleashed. The first Council fleet entered Sol with overwhelming force. Thousands of ships moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming under the light of the sun. The lead admiral transmitted across all frequencies, his voice dripping with superiority. "Humans of Earth, you stand before the combined might of the Council. Surrender your system and technology. Refuse and your world will burn." Silence. Then a single human transmission returned, simple and clear. "Come and try." The Council's fleet advanced, weapons primed. Energy lances tore through the void, vaporizing asteroids and debris. Yet as they drew closer to Mars, something strange happened. Their targeting systems flickered, distorted by unknown interference. Their sensors screamed false readings. Their formation began to break as hidden human ships decloaked around them, weaving through the chaos like predators. The first human counterstrike landed without warning. Missiles guided by adaptive AI split and multiplied mid-flight, confusing countermeasures. Council warships that had never known defeat found their shields collapsing under kinetic bombardments that defied prediction. "Impossible," the Admiral hissed. "Primitive kinetics can't breach our barriers." But they did. Within minutes, the Fourth Fleet was in disarray. Their elegant formations became fragmented clouds of wreckage. And from the burning silence came a second human transmission. "You wanted to test humanity's strength. Now you'll see what survival looks like." The Council's chamber grew quiet as reports arrived. At first, disbelief reigned. They called it an error in transmission, a mistake in data relay. But as the casualty reports multiplied, denial turned to fear. The High Speaker demanded explanations. "How did this happen?" "They possess no fleets of comparable scale," a strategist replied, voice trembling. "Their weapons adaptive, unpredictable. Their ships maneuvered with reaction times beyond calculation. It's as if they anticipated every move before it was made." "Then send the second armada," another counselor snapped. "Crush them with numbers." And so the second armada was dispatched. 200,000 ships, each a floating city of power. They entered the Sol system 3 weeks later. expecting resistance but not annihilation. This time, humanity did not wait. The void around Saturn erupted. Hidden in the planet's magnetic field, human fleet struck with precision. Space itself shimmered as experimental void resonance cannons fired, beams that bent gravitational fields, shattering enemy ships at the molecular level. When the survivors tried to retreat, they found their escape lanes blocked. Humanity had deployed gravity snares, collapsing navigation routes into traps. For every human ship destroyed, 10 of the councils fell. By the end of the engagement, the second armada was gone. Back on Earth, the mood was grim but resolute. Humanity had won 2 battles, but they knew what would come next. The council would not stop. They would send everything. "Do we have enough to hold them?" an officer asked. The commander looked out toward the night sky. "No, but we have enough to make them remember." They began activating the final contingency, Project Echo. Across Earth and its colonies, massive underground facilities came alive, their reactors humming with contained fury. Humanity had created something the Council had no word for. It was not merely a weapon, it was retribution. When the Council's Grand Armada arrived, 1 million ships strong, the galaxy trembled. Planets dimmed under the shadow of their fleets. Even stars seemed to grow quieter in anticipation. At the Council's core world, the chamber filled with delegates again, watching through live transmissions. Their confidence had returned. "Now the human threat ends," the High Speaker declared. The transmission feed showed the Grand Armada forming near Neptune. A wall of energy shimmered as human defenses powered up. The Council watched as their armada advanced. Then the feed flickered. From the dark side of Neptune, a pulse of light emerged, silent at first, then expanding faster than any sensor could register. Ships caught in the wave disintegrated instantly, their atomic structures undone by spatial distortion. The Council's proudest dreadnoughts vanished like mist. "Report!" Voices cried in the chamber. Static filled the channels. Then, through the static, a faint human voice broke through the interference. "You came to our home. You called us weak. You thought we'd surrender. You were wrong." The Council's fleet tried to respond, to fire, to retreat, but the distortion continued to grow. Humanity had unleashed Project Echo, a weapon that manipulated quantum resonance across space, turning the battlefield itself into a storm of chaos. The Council's fleets could not understand it, could not adapt fast enough. Within hours, the Grand Armada ceased to exist. The Council's worlds fell into panic. Communications failed. Fleets vanished. Outposts stopped responding. Some whispered that Earth had found a way to weaponize the void itself. Others claimed that humanity had allied with something older and darker. The High Speaker refused to believe either. He demanded a direct transmission to Sol, against the protests of his advisors. He opened a channel himself, static. Then, slowly, a human face appeared, calm, expressionless, framed by the distant light of Earth. "High Speaker," the voice said, "you sought to dominate us. You called us savages. You thought this war would be a lesson. It is, but not the one you intended." The speaker struggled for words. "What are you?" The answer came with quiet certainty. "Survivors." The transmission ended. Moments later, sensors across the Council's capital detected something approaching. Not a fleet, not a signal, something vast and silent, bending light as it moved. When the object arrived, it hovered above the Council's homeworld, a ship larger than any they had imagined, bearing no known energy signature. Humanity had arrived at their doorstep. In the Council chamber, chaos reigned. "Activate defenses! Lock planetary shields! Identify the vessel!" Their systems tried and failed. The human vessel's presence disrupted their entire grid. The High Speaker stood trembling. "Open communication. Perhaps they will accept truce." A new signal filled the chamber. Human transmission, brief and final. "We asked for peace. You brought war. Now you will understand consequence." Then the feed ended. From orbit, the massive human vessel unleashed a single beam of contained resonance. It did not destroy the planet outright. It severed every network, every orbital defense, every satellite. The Council's world went dark, across the galaxy. The other civilizations watched in silence. And then came the final broadcast, the Council's last transmission, intercepted by hundreds of systems before the silence consumed it. A trembling voice, the High Speaker's, filled the void. "Wait, That's not possible. Static.